one show that dominates cable news, The O'Reilly Factor.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly. In the Policing the Press segment tonight, Senator Hillary Clinton's having more problems with the media than many of us thought she'd have, as Senator Barack Obama seems to be the press darling. Also, Rosie O'Donnell will return to The View next Tuesday after making some very controversial comments about 9/11 in Iran. In preparation for that, some far-left media people are in full protection mode.
This is a pseudo-controversy that's pretty much been generated by the right-wing media. Nobody is paying that much attention to Rosie O'Donnell as a political commentator. And by sliming her, what you do is you take your eye off the ball.
Sliming her? How about just reporting the story? Joining us now from Washington, Jane Hall, who was on that Newswatch panel with Mr. Gabler. And from Boston, Bernie Goldberg. You can learn more about Bernie at berniegoldberg.com. Both are Fox News analysts. Okay, now Jane, first of all, I'm going to have to sit in for you one weekend so I can, and I want to sit right next to that Gabler guy, all right? Sliming her, this is absurd. She works for the Disney Corporation. We talked about this last week. This is a major problem for a major corporation. This has tentacles into Barbara Walters. It has all kinds of implications. This dishonest individual, Gabler, who Fox shamefully puts up there every week, you know, for me here, he wouldn't be here if I was running a show. But we are fair and balanced, and we do bring in a nut once in a while. But
hey.
the protection that the far left is giving Rosie O'Donnell, the story in Virginia we led with. You're not going to get that in national coverage, those poor girls being killed by the illegal alien drunk driver. So how do you see it, Jane?
Well, first of all, Neil Gabler is someone I agree with often, and so I wouldn't agree with your character.
To your shame.
To my shame.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't. But I think I disagree with him on this. I think it is valid to question whether Rosie O'Donnell had stepped over the line with 9/11 conspiracy theories. I mean, you are obviously on a pretty strong mission. You're doing a lot of stories about this. You feel strongly about this. I think that Neil's point was the bigger question. You know, there have been stories about whether the Bush administration was preparing to go to war or wanted to go to war in Iran. I think that's the point he was making.
And that's absurd based upon this week's, okay. Come on, it's absurd.
I mean, she was wrong, and it appears that the leader of Iran actually was the guy trying to do this for his own internal purposes. So Rosie O'Donnell was wrong. But I don't think it's fair to say that the media haven't covered this. There
they
been
haven't
stories,
covered it, Jane.
Well,
do
Howard
it Nexus
Kurtz,
Lexus.
Howard Kurtz
Look
did
it up.
Jonah Goldberg did an op-ed in the Los Angeles
Goldberg is an
Times.
op-ed, and he's a conservative
Okay.
op-ed guy. You saw no coverage of this. Kurtz, like
I think
this.
it will.
Like
I think
this.
it will.
Well, wait a minute, Jane. What about the slime remark that this sleazy, this is alliteration, Gabler, nobody's sliming anybody. They're just reporting the story, Jane.
Well, I disagree with his characterization, and I don't. I mean,
Right.
you're getting me into a deal about.
Just smack him next time you're sitting next to him. Now, Bernie, come on. Now, what more do I have to do, Bernie, to show Jane and every other left-winger that the left-wing press in America?
Wait, I'm not a left-winger.
I know,
Thank you
Jane.
very much.
I know.
Right.
You're Tinkerbell.
Okay.
What more do I have to do to show the left-wing that the left-wing media in this country simply will not report stuff they don't like?
Yeah. Let's look at it this way, Bill. And here's a perfect example. Let's say that instead of going after Rosie O'Donnell for implying that the United States government blew up one of the buildings on 9/11, which is not a controversial statement, it's an insane statement. Let's say that instead of going after Rosie O'Donnell because she said radical Christians, whatever that means, are as threatening as radical Muslims, another insane statement, let's say that you went after not a left-wing nut, but a right-wing nut who on a major broadcast network on a regular basis made not controversial statements, but insane statements about gays, about blacks, about Hispanics, or even just about regular women. Would that be a pseudo-controversy if you were the only one going after them? No, it wouldn't. It would be a legitimate way to do it. Neil Gabler, I'm not saying Neil Gabler is a fan of Rosie O'Donnell, but I am saying that I think he dislikes you, and I mean you, Bill, and dislikes Fox News
wait a minute.
more than he dislikes Rosie O'Donnell, because it's a way you guys are stand-ins for his obsession with the so-called right-wing media.
Hey, wait a minute.
Go ahead,
Bill has done 5 segments on on Rosie O'Donnell this week practically, and it's Thursday. Who's obsessed? Neil Gabler said what he said. He is a friend of mine. This is not about Neil Gabler. I said on this show last week that
Yes,
I had
is.
serious criticisms with ABC and with Rosie O'Donnell. I said she didn't have a First Amendment right to be wrong and to be wacko. So, I mean, if you're going to characterize me and everybody else as left wing,
it's not about you or even Gabler. It's about, and let's get into a more serious topic.
Well, wait, let me just finish
Well, hold
something.
it, Jane. My time is not, I have a finite amount of time. You have 2 dead girls in Virginia, Jane. You got 2 dead girls killed by an illegal alien drunk driver protected by a sanctuary city. Huge story. You will not see this story because those girls had a funeral yesterday. No national media covered it. None. And if you're going to sit there and tell me that there isn't a organized thing, because there was an AP story, Jane. It came across everybody's wire. Nobody printed it, just like they didn't print the pedophile ACLU former president in Virginia. They didn't print it. Just like they didn't print anything about Rosie O'Donnell except O'Reilly starting a feud. Bernie's right, I'm right, you're wrong, and we can prove it. Go.
Well, hey, look, you're asking me about a story that I haven't researched the coverage of.
It doesn't matter whether you researched it.
No,
I
wait
just
a
told
minute.
you the truth about it.
A lot of times a story will start somewhere, it will probably get coverage. You take something and you extrapolate from that proves something. I'm telling you, I don't think lack of coverage of Rosie O'Donnell also could mean people don't take her seriously.
Oh, stop it. It's a huge story. Our ratings are enormous. Thousands of letters are coming in here. This is huge. This is a cabal that simply will not report the news anymore. I got to give Bernie the last word to balance out the time.
If an illegal alien one became the class valedictorian and was accepted by Harvard because he got a 1600 on his SATs or a 2400 now on his SATs. I guarantee you that would be in every liberal paper on page 1 of the United States of America. So they do have an agenda, and this is a good example of how it comes out.
Yeah, it's a news blackout. I mean, and it is unbelievable to watch story after story. And Jane, you ought to just check it out because this story in Virginia
every
is
time
enormous.
I come on here, I check it out.
This is an enormous story that no one has picked up, and that's why people watch The Factor. For you and Bernie, too. Thank you.